but we will be starting this in just a moment as we allow people to arrive. So, all right, like I was saying, this is the 79th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and I'm going to be doing stuff a little different than my usual sort of play the game and talk a little bit about the battle while doing so. We're going to be playing the game most assuredly and talking about the game, but as well we're going to talk about, at least I'm going to talk about, and hopefully you guys who will be watching or soon to be watching will be hopefully entering in the discussion on Pearl Harbor, the effects, what led up to it, and all of that, because this is a momentous battle here. And we can see, we'll take a quick look at this photo here before getting started. That's Ford Island there. That's Battleship Row. You can see right here and right here. Oh, no, they're not here. The carriers are missing. They were supposed to be moored here, but they were out doing exercises on Sunday, which at least wasn't a normal day for military activity in the Pacific Islands or anywhere probably on a Sunday. I think it's one's listing. It's one of these two is, I think this is an ex-battleship that has become a target ship that gets attacked by the Japanese a lot. I mean, it was a battleship at one time, but it's now become a target ship. I think most of the main guns and whatnot have been pulled, but it is not an active ship, but it is there. And you can see some of the bombs. It's an aircraft, Japanese aircraft right there, I believe. Yeah. And so that gives you an idea. Ford Island is basically a naval base, and it includes not sure whether it's more over here or more over here. Maybe I don't know. Amphibious airbase, if you will, for amphibious planes for the Navy. Hickam Field, I think, is off over here somewhere. Just wanted to do that. Well, the United States is still in conversation with the Japanese government towards maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Reports from the U.S. Navy base at Pearl Harbor reveal a sudden and deliberate attack by Japanese naval and air forces against our nation. Now, also let's talk about that briefly here. The plan was, the timing was that the attack was going to happen. And I'm not sure whether that's from the carrier launch or from the planned first drop of bombs, but a half an hour before the attack was to commence. Again, I don't know exactly what they're calling commencing, first shot or first launch, because obviously it takes a while to fly in. The Japanese were to have officially notified the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. that they were in a state of war. It was not supposed to be a surprise attack that we're at war. It was meant to be a particular surprise that they're attacking here, absolutely, but not that they were at war. Now, whether that half an hour they could have notified Pearl Harbor that they're at war, that's another question. And this attack is just one of the attacks that happened in about a 7-hour period. And so they're not all simultaneously. Hello, Pit Fiend. Simultaneously to the moment, but simultaneously to the basic, day or 24-hour period. I say that because the attack on Pearl Harbor happens on December 8th, according to the Japanese, in Japan. The daytime thing is somewhere out here in the Pacific. So, but it is December 7th in Hawaii. But during that 7-hour period, there are attacks starting in the Philippines, on Guam, which is out here, and Midway, or is it Wake Island? I think it's Wake Island. The the attack out here on Wake. So these are all happening, and then there is also, during the 7-hour period, attacks on Singapore, some of the Dutch East Indies, and other positions around. Hey, Jaculius. So Japan is, use a modern term, spamming out attacks everywhere. And so it wasn't just that moment they're going to war with the US, they were going to war with the British and the Dutch as well. Now, of course, at the beginning of December 1941, the Netherlands, the home, the home country of the colonies, has been occupied by Germany at this point, and so they were in a state of war with Germany. And of course, Britain is also in a state of war with Germany. So that's sort of some of the context to the start of this battle. Australian commander groups been active. I don't know how this affects this battle there, but I've seen this. Now I've played through this all the way through long ago. And another note, I believe this is one of the free-to-play scenarios with Order of Battle. So if you haven't already got it, you can download this. And again, I believe, so don't check and make sure, just because I already own, mostly thanks to, though I had bought some prior to working with Slytherin, but mostly Slytherin, I already own it, so I can't check. But normally the first battle scenario of each of the DLCs is free to play, so you can download it and try it out here on December 7th, or if you're watching it later, so you can follow along and see how it goes for yourself. Now, I really do, many of the usual watchers know that I'm really loving my playing of Panzer Corps 2. It is a really good game. But what Panzer Corps, at least currently, doesn't do, and probably won't for a considerable amount of time, is use all the wonderful new game mechanics and graphics set up for Panzer Corps 2 for other things than Panzer Corps. This is, of course, we're playing in the Pacific, and there's no Germans involved. So, yeah, there's a lot of other options to play campaigns with Order of Battle. So it makes it very, very useful to want to play still. Okay, we're under attack. This is not a drill. Japanese fighters and bombers are coming from all directions. Basically, that's correct. Targeting our ships and naval infrastructure. Radar stations report more enemy aircraft closing fast. The initial Japanese attack wave was mistaken for friendly bombers and has caught us completely by surprise. Yes, they did. Our forces across the island are in disarray and totally unprepared. Make contact with other defenders and try to organize an effective resistance against Japanese raiders. Okay. I really do like the way that they sort of, when you have, like, from this big, huge area here, sort of under the extended radar coverage, and then it goes dark, so you have some idea of what's going on out there in certain areas because of that. I love the mechanic that it's doing that. Okay. Let it be up, I believe, towards the Nevada end of Battleship Row. There, so they're attacking the Nevada. Okay. Basically, primary objective is just endure the attack for 15 turns, how long it is. Secondary bonus objectives: visit primary VPs to activate AA guns. You want to do 5 of those if you can. Visit airfields to activate fighter aircraft. 5 of those. Shoot down 5 enemy aircraft. Okay. And keep at least 1 battleship alive. And so far we have done so, because we have not had any sunk yet. Now, I don't think you can achieve all of the scenarios, as it were, all of the well, not scenario, all of the bonus objectives, because they're spread out. You have whatever this is considered in here. then Hickam Field, Ford Island, and up in both an AA gun, an air base, more AA guns along here, another air base. So I don't know that we can do all of those. So we have this choice because we have this Jeep with a medical symbol on it to go around. Hey, Avards. Well, very good. And again, everybody, this is Pearl Harbor Day. Okay, so we have anti-aircraft guns, banned and secured. Now, the Japanese were quite surprised at how quickly we were able to, I say we, the Americans, were able to get responses going to their attack, particularly anti-aircraft guns. I'm going to move, because one of our one of our secondary objectives is to maintain these. Hopefully at least one of these 3 battleships will survive. So I'm going to move, while we can, this into a position to get them all under the umbrella here. So we have, let's just shoot it that way. And we're going to move the one destroyer we have control over. We'll move him, yeah, here. Thinking maybe down here, which wouldn't be a bad spot either. But that is it that we can do. Hello, No Need. How you doing? Good to have you here. And so that is all the first moves we can do. This represents some cruisers, I think heavy cruisers up here. We've activated one of our AA guns. Now, why does the attack happen? A few brave and lucky pilots have managed to man the aircraft and get them into the air. So we now have that fighter operating, but let's first, okay, these are all under here. So I think what we can do, we'll target him. We'll move him up to here. Let's see, what is this? DAV. We'll go after. We want to fully. Hey, Pixel. Don't lose those ships. If I can help it, I won't. So Japan, the reason this happens is Japan cannot achieve victory in the war in China, or the war with China, however you want to say it. And the U.S. has been putting increasingly severe trade restrictions, not stopping third parties from trading with Japan, but stopping U.S. trading with Japan. And so this is getting to be a problem. And Japan wants, what do we have unmoved? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, that one destroyer, that's right. I don't care about my one destroyer. So Japan wants the oil in the Dutch East Indies. The Dutch have been unwilling to trade with Japan, even though they're in a rather poor situation. And so Japan feels it needs to take it. And of course, the Dutch currently have an ally in Britain, that they're both at war with Germany, so presumably if you're attacking the Dutch East Indies, it will be a war with Britain as well. Now, Japan feels it can defeat those two powers, again, because they're at war with Germany. They know they can defeat the Dutch, even if they weren't at war, because they're just the Dutch. But add Britain into that mixture, they're not going to necessarily be able to do that in peacetime. Okay, do we have a preferred target here? Let's see who. Well, if we come up to here, just see which one here we could do some of the most damage with. That looks like maybe the one. So let's first hit with AA fire, because if I can, I want to completely eliminate it. Now we need to, or it is best if we activate some of these over here. Now we can try to activate Ford Island, but we would take one turn to get to the port, another turn to get onto the ship, another turn to get off the ship into there. So we're talking 3 turns to get a fighter activated. That might be the right choice to keep all the battleships alive to get another fighter up in the air. But I don't know that we're going to take that. Coming out here again, and I really liked the talk that you may want to go back and watch, the Home of the Wargamers from Thursday, that a good war game makes you make decisions, and you can't make decisions that, well, you know, oh, well, we do this and it achieves all our goals. You have to have a win-loss in your decision-making process. So this is one of our main actors here, is this Jeep to run about and get units under centralized command and control. So I don't know that we can get out here and get over to here. We could try to take this road up and around to here and then across the dirt track. But can we do that in 15 turns? I am suspicious. I have not tried to do that. Maybe the math does show it. That might be the path. Now we can try to go straight across here, but we're going across open country, and I know we will be slowing up considerably. I am not sure which will be fastest, but I'm going to take the road because I want to try to activate the fighter out here, get them up in the air, so that we'll have them flexibly moving around. And if we came across here and then up to here, then back down to here, I think that's going to be the longest and least best option. So either try to do a great loop around the whole map, or in which, well, we may be able to do that the opposite way, or come here and then up along the coast. And hello, Beam Slam. Yes, the day that will live in infamy. Yeah, sound effects are good. So we're going to keep doing that. And then I'm going to keep talking about Japan's choices. So I think it's just the destroyer. Yeah, I like where it's placed because it's covering this heavy cruiser, the New Orleans. I think the New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans is a heavy class cruiser. It's covering this destroyer in the AA again, so some of them would get mutual coverage. Continue. And Japan, can't win the war. They feel they need or want the oil from the Dutch, and they're going to have to fight the British. And they believe, I'm not sure that it's correct. I know one of the things I read, they believe incorrectly, but I'm not sure that it's incorrect either, that if going to the war, because of some of the statements that the Americans have made, if going to war with the British and the Dutch, they're going to be, the U.S. is going to enter the war. That might be the case, but I'm not assured of it either way. But here's the thing that military men often forget about. And that was the military as in Army or Navy. It's not just one of them when I'm referring to it. Is that warfare is a political act. Okay, the first wave of Japanese aircraft was mistaken for some B-17 bombers scheduled to arrive from the USA. Now the actual B-17s have returned, and while these bombers cannot engage the enemy directly, they do provide useful pair of eyes in the sky. Okay, I'm going to do another quick aside. They were sent across the Pacific without any ammunition. This should be a lesson to everyone. Don't fly military aircraft around and this is a frontier outpost. This is yet to be an American state and whatnot. And so, yeah, maybe flying around the continental U.S. is a different case, of course, but flying out here without the ability to do what they can to defend themselves. So send ammunition with them, however good that might be. So we have some bombers. We're going to use them up here. It's a bit of a scout. And these guys are going to zip along the road. Where was I? Japan. Oh yeah, warfare is a political act. Now, if we were to, I think we'll come to here because I'll give cover to the most ships. If you were to attack a, well, which one is stronger? Let's look at, no, they're about equal strength. Okay. You know, military looks at it, oh, we need to defeat the enemy by destroying the enemy's military. That's the way you win wars. Or lose wars if they destroy yours. But that's not necessarily the case. And the Vietnamese understood this in the Vietnam War. Hey, Toy Jet, good to have you here, my friend. We've not lost the Pacific Fleet yet, no. We are trying to hold on to it. And so, this political act of war, when they attacked Pearl Harbor, is when Japan loses World War II. Of course, the best way to win some wars is not to fight in them. The Swiss has sort of learned this with, you know, not jumping into every war that happens on their continent, but being as prepared as they can so that they're not accidentally invaded, sort of like the Danes were accidentally invaded, you know, by the Germans because they needed to get to Norway. So it was just going to be an easy, the Zeros have entered the field, the fighters. You know, so a strong armed neutrality. And Japan could have maybe learned that lesson and not started a war with China. But by 1940, that's not the case. They're already at war with China. And so they need to deal with that. Okay, I understand that idea and logic. Now, if you're going to go to war with the U.S., or if you, okay, coastal radar stations have picked up signals from a new Japanese attack wave approaching from the northeast. This is, yes, the first wave comes in from this sort of side a bit more, loops in here, as well as comes in sort of across from here and loops around this way. The second wave attack sort of comes in from this side and attacks. You know, you're already in a war. You believe war is maybe unavoidable with the U.S. because you believe you need to. We're going to bring you back because you've just been hammered by Zeros. Back to Hickam, and next turn we will reinforce them. Hello, the old gray gamer. How you doing? When they invaded China after that, it was just a series of, yeah, But China wasn't going to be able to invade Japan. China wasn't going to be able to take Taiwan or Formosa, whatever you want to call the island, away from Japan. I don't know that China would have been capable of taking Korea away from Japan, though they might be able to march their armies that way. I understand what you're saying, and they might lose the war with, in China, but that doesn't mean that they're defeated in completely crushed, and there is a difference there. One of the biggest main ones they attacked Pearl Harbor was not taking. Yes, and I will get to some of the oil and fuel reserves, absolutely, and talk a little bit more about that eventually here. And that is, there was a proposal by some junior officers to do that for the third wave, but since the carriers had not been found and sunk, the Japanese were worried that the carriers might find their carriers unprotected or with aircraft refueling, rearming, resupplying, whatnot, sort of like what happens at Midway later on, and get sunk with that attack. So they don't do a third wave, and they just do two waves coming into Pearl Harbor. But that would have, and we will talk about that, would have significant effects on the Americans had they done that. And I want to move you up this way here. Now, again, getting back to the political aspects of this. The Japanese government at one point during 1941 offers to withdraw from China. I don't know that this was they offered that from the Americans to the Americans. The American, along with some other conditions and stuff. The Americans turn it down. At least from most of China, they've offered to withdraw. Not necessarily from Manchuria, definitely not from Manchuria or Manchukuo. And I don't know for sure if it was all of the gains since 1937, but from the Oxabalis. Good to have you here. So it's definitely, a large chunk, withdrawal from a large chunk of China. I don't know that would have been possible, because I don't believe the Japanese army is under control of the government in Tokyo. I think they are, in essence, running rogue policies and not under control of the central government of Japan. But that's one of the things offered by the Japanese, is to withdraw from China. So I don't, Japan may be forced to withdraw to some stages in China, I will grant for sure, but I'm not going to grant that is a complete loss for them. Now, okay, maybe they'll get a little hit in with RA guns. Now, once the Americans are coming into the war, because it was a surprise attack, America is enraged about it. And it goes on for the next generation. The children of the people that were alive at this time hate the Japanese. Trust me, in America. They, at least well into the 80s, they hate the Japanese. And I know this from talking to, a lot of people my parents' age. They hate it. And it isn't really racism, because they also hate the Nazis, but they separate Nazis from Germans, where there wasn't a sort of a political distinction. Oh, did I forget to do this last turn? Probably. We'll just do regular reinforcement. Nothing to hit here, so we're going to move you over here. Keep bringing down aircraft, and we're going to move you in under here to get this area a little bit more over to here, covered as well, because otherwise they'll just attack out here. And so they're enraged about this, and they're going to push for complete victory, unconditional surrender and occupation of Japan. Had it not been such a complete surprise attack, it might not have been. I want to go with this guy. He can't really attack anything. He's more operating as a bit of a scout. So we're going to fly over here and identify that. There. They've moved. And so that is a serious thing, that everyone is enraged with the Japanese because of this. Not just that they're at war. But had they, and I keep getting interrupted, so I'm repeating myself, I know. Had they, declared war in the normal form, and then an hour or two later, or 30 minutes as the original schedule was, they came and bombed my airbase, my fighters at the airbase. Should have had that AA gun a little closer to them, I think. Would have been better. Had that happen, I still think the Americans are going to push for victory against the Japanese. So, just attacking it. But here's the thing that the Japanese don't realize, don't understand. Because, they believe that they could, by having a overwhelming, crushing victory at Pearl Harbor, that they could dispirit the American populace or government or whatever and be willing to negotiate a peace. They believe that. Whether that would have happened, I don't believe it would have happened at all. What I think would have been the best strategy, if you find yourself in a position and you believe you must attack. Okay, drawing attention. Most enemy aircraft or battleships are taking heavy damage. Several ships are already burning and sinking in the aftermath. Okay, a wing of F-4F Wildcat fighters have arrived from the USS Enterprise aircraft carrier. Very good. So we're getting some reinforcements. You take off. Get up in the air. We want to come back to here. Yeah, I think we will. We've lost this one, but what is this? This is. We'll go after this guy. If they had not attacked the Americas, any of the American possessions in the Philippines, in Hawaii, and had forced the Americans to declare war on Japan, it would have been a whole different ballgame. I don't think they understand it, the Japanese. Yes, there is a significant affinity. We'll continue using you as sort of decoy bait and reconnaissance out there between the Americans and the British. But the Americans during this time, they're hearing Edward R. Murrow's broadcasts from London and London being bombed and getting great sympathy for the British being bombed. And that's quite true. But the Americans, institutionally or culturally, are not feverish to... looks like we're going to lose the oil tanks up here. Yep, there goes the oil tanks. Are not wanting to fight to defend the Britain's colonial empire, seeing as America was once part of that colonial empire and decided not to be part of the colonial empire anymore. So, they like the British. They may like the British Empire better than they like, the Russian Empire or the Spanish Empire or some such empires around, either current or, in recent memory. But I don't think they want to die for that empire. Ooh, that was a really vigorous attack there by a lot of our forces. And how much pain, meaning loss of life, is America willing to do to fight for the British Empire? I think, the losses and there was some controversy over some of the losses. Yes, brave, lucky pilots managed to take off. Very good. So you're going to come out to here so that you're sort of protecting that. And we're going to see, is there one better or worse? We'll attack that one. Probably going to be better after this attack to move him towards Pearl Harbor, but I wanted to get at one of these guys here. Okay, we're going to hopefully knock them out of the sky, get one of our goals of fully taking out a Japanese aircraft. Okay, well, they're heavily hurt now. Yeah, we can move you into there. A little better anti-aircraft coverage for the area. There was controversy over, I think it was Saipan or one of the other high casualty rates. I don't think it was Iwo Jima, but one of the high casualty rates of taking one of the Pacific Islands. And that was printed in the newspapers, particularly in San Francisco. And so there was this, starting to feel, and it was not so much, is it worth the casualties to fight to defeat Japan? No, it was more of a controversy over, are the commanders competent for their jobs? Are they making the right decisions? Are we being led well? Were the casualties necessary? Kind of issues. But had America declared war on Japan and then suffered these high casualty rates with lots of suffering going on, that, in my opinion, is the better outcome. Now, I know part of the reason for the timing of the attack on Pearl Harbor, not what day of the week or anything like that, but that there was a, earlier in 1941, I think in July, but I'm not sure, there had been a new Defense Authorization Act that was going to greatly increase the size of the U.S. Navy, including starting a building of 18 aircraft carriers and, 12 or more battleships. And so, which were going to be ready in, a year and a half or some sort of time. And so they are concerned that these are coming, and if they wait too long, a year or two, while continuing to limp along and fight in China, they might, end up having to face this newly built up force. Now, my sort of answer to that is, well, if you know this force is coming, and this force can defeat you, you really think that if you attack currently, that they're not just going to build this force and then steamroller you anyways? So it's, I get the idea that they don't think they can just wait it out. I do get that. Yeah, no, but, do we take the opportunity to try to activate Ford Island with this? So I don't know if the anti-aircraft guns can. How far away do we go? Well, okay, we can come to here. Still be protecting that battleship. Now protecting the... Get it? Okay. We got a lot of aircraft still coming in. Yeah, bombers. Well, we need to keep the... Well, hoping to get them down, but we're gonna keep him back here just so that we don't lose more than necessary. Yeah. Three bombers coming in. So yeah, moving these guys even further off of here would have been a mistake. I was hoping to get them down. Thank you. I do like this. Yeah, they failed to destroy the oil. Yeah. And so... You know, if you know that the U.S. is going to be able to defeat you eventually, you don't make them mad, but you got to, you know, prepare for it. And make them make the mistakes instead of you make the mistakes politically. At least that's how I see it. Now, as several times have been brought up, hello, Gilmer 9. Either that or land a force to destroy all the facilities. That way it takes forever to bring them back online. Yes, I remember doing all the operations. It's hard. Let's see if we can undo it. And so, yeah, that's my analysis, is that it would have been best to wait for America to declare war, because America, you must also remember, there's a very strong America First movement until December 7th that wants to keep America out of the war in Europe, and also does not want really a war in the Pacific either. It's not like they wanted other wars. They were basically a non-interventionist, not a pacifist. You know, they were, yeah, if you're going to attack America, we're willing to go to war, but we don't need to go to foreign wars. It was an anti-foreign war movement that was quite strong. I'm not saying it had a majority support, but it was quite strong. That evaporates, you know, on December 7th. That movement is done, and it closes its doors within a week or two. Whatever the political organizations, it's just over with. And so, but that wouldn't have been the case had, at least in my opinion, had the U.S. been the ones that start attacking other nations, Japan or somebody else, Japan or Germany or whoever. Okay, now we've lost 2 of our battleships and we only have this one remaining. So let's move you down to here. And can we fully shoot these guys down? Nope, damn. Getting close to a lot of the aircraft here. Now we have 3 aircraft up in the action here. And I'm going to keep flying you around to sort of recon and interfere with their movements. Which is precisely what the U.S. Navy FDR did, Japan squeezing their oil and rubber supplies to the point to where they made the mistake of attacking. Yes, he did squeeze. That is the effect that happened. But I don't think FDR is trying to get Japan to attack America. I think FDR had a family history of working in the American China trade, which is different than the opium China trade that the British were doing. But they had a long sort of tradition there. And they're trying to modify Japan's behavior through nonviolent diplomatic means. And so, okay, we're going to allow that? Yeah, I'll allow that. Twitch can be funny about using the terms like Hitler and such, but and so yeah, that's you're absolutely right, Gray Gamer. That is what the effect. On the other side of the world, the U.S. knew the only way to defeat Hitler was to become the USSR and UK war material supplier. Now that the USSR probably could have bled the Germans' war machine to death, but at what cost? Stalin just as much of, of course, Stalin's just as much nutcase as Hitler. That's, yeah. And definitely I would say the general plan, FDR wants to get into the war against Hitler. I believe that because he sees Hitler as a, existential threat to freedom, we'll call it that, around the world, including the U.S. long term, meaning if 20 years later, if Nazi Germany is the great power in Europe, it's a problem to the U.S. He sees that. But he's definitely, and the Americans, generally speaking, like in the early stages of World War I, does want to become the arms supplier to the UK and USSR. The Japanese midget submarines are down there. Brought the Soviet Union and Russia. Yes, but at what cost? At what cost? He did industrialize the Soviet Union, but at a terrible, terrible cost even before the war starts. In lives, in human misery. I just like you can't say anything that's about Hitler is worth the cost of Hitler. Hitler is, nothing that he did that might be good, beneficial for anybody, outweighs or justifies the evil of Hitler. Nothing that Stalin does that might be good or beneficial to some people justifies the evil that is Stalin either. So they're both entirely unredeemable. 20 plus million, yeah. Well, we're talking about World War II in that era right now, and it's not just genocide, but complete and total misery here. Okay, this will get another AA gun up and operating. Good. Here, not quite sure where best to do that, but that is a good benefit for us. Okay, well. There's a submarine out here. Do we control this yet? No. Okay, Ford Island brought down. Let's fly into... we see that guy hovering over on the side over there. Let's fly in through here. Okay, good. We got them spotted up there. So... these guys will come up here and shoot them down. We want to try to achieve the goal of 5 aircraft a shot down. I think we can be a little more proactive here, because I don't think anything is... maybe something's coming from over here, but we'll still try this one. Okay. 3-1. Okay. Okay, they're heavily beat up. Yeah, and so yeah, nothing is. Yeah, I'm not going to play the game for Stalin. Well, he industrialized the Soviet Union, so no, he's just unredeemably evil as well. I'm not going to play that game on Stalin's behalf.